Okay, good morning. I will wait for 3-4 minutes for others to join, and then I will start. Okay, so I start. So, as this course is primarily about strategy, structure, and systems, and a sense of coordination and alignment between these three, and also the environment, that is the fourth one. Okay, and we have studied environment, strategy, and structure in some details. So I just thought that we could devote one session to systems. So then there are so many systems. There's so many systems. Systems are ERP systems, MRP, management control systems, management information system, incentive system, etc. So in this class, I'm going to focus only on enterprise resources plan. MRP, we all know, it is material requirements planning. And this is referred to as MRP1. And we also have what is known as manufacturing resources planning, that is MRP. What is the fine difference between the two? There is a separate course, manufacturing planning and control, which is devoted to that. But I will just point out here that here capacity decisions are considered. Capacity decisions are considered. Whereas in MRP1, it assumes unlimited capacity. So there is one more thing which comes to my mind as I make this presentation. It is DRP. DRP is known as distribution resources planning. Distribution resources planning, which is referred to as DRP. So what traditionally has happened is in around 70s to 90s, MRPs were popular and information system was focused only on production systems. So MRP, material requirement planning and manufacturing resources planning, are primarily systems that support manufacturing decisions. And then people thought, why not, as the more and more computing power and programming flexibilities were attained, people thought, let us make a package or let us make a software that would help us to integrate entire organization-wide processes or activities which need to be coordinated. And that is how it came to the enterprise resources planning. And typically in ERP, not only production is considered, but also considered is finance, marketing, R&D, and HR. So the entire processes are considered. So I am going to talk only about in this lecture only on ERP systems, ERP, and I'm going to talk about MIS, management information systems. Other systems, there are other courses which are devoted to development of these other kind of systems. So when we come to ERP, we typically have ERP for production, which is MRP, ERP for finance, we have ERP for finance, ERP for marketing, and typically ERP for, I will just write down here once again, ERP for production, is referred to as MRP. And MRP is typically devoted for differentiators. For mass production, ERP or MRP equivalent would be different. Typically in MRP, what is assumed is you have a job shop or an FMS, right? And this is what it is. And we have ERP for marketing. ERP for marketing is referred to as CRM, Customer Relationship Management. So this is about the typology. And similarly, we can have ERP for finance, ERP for R&D, and ERP for HR. And suppose we have a differentiator organization. We have a we have a defender organization which uses a functional structure. Uses a functional structure. Then there is little coordination desired between ERP HR, ERP marketing, etc. So this is typical. If you so what is required is if you are having a functional structure which has little coordination desired between different. Let me delete this defender here, because in defender you have coordination between manufacturing and finance. So if you have a functional structure, there is little coordination between ERP HR, ERP marketing, ERP production, and ERP RS. So typically, the systems have to be developed in such a way that they are neatly intertwined into the structure and form a holistic whole. And typically in Defender, important departments are production and finance. So it is natural to assume that here ERP would be dominated by, or ERP would be focused on production and finance. And this is other way of saying it is ERP would be internally oriented. Whereas for a prospector, important departments are marketing and R&D. So CRM and customer relationship management and ERP for R&D would be important. ERP for R&D and ERP for production will be important. And there is also other way of saying the same thing, is that ERP in prospector would be externally oriented. So this is, this hypothesis, last 4 or 5 lines were given by Dr. Uma Nair when she did her thesis on MRP with me. So this is one way of looking at it. Let me save this slide. These slides will be passed on to you along with the note that I have prepared. So it becomes a good collection with you. Next is ERP and manager's job. So in Barnard has defined manager's job among others who have described manager's job. So what is important is communication, delegation, and autonomy. And typically, it has been documented, or rather and also use of power. It has been documented that with ERP implementation, standardization goes up because everything is automated and organization tends to use standard processes. Specialization goes up. Because you need specialists who will understand HR and encode it in the ERP software. You need specialists who will understand production and then they will encode it to form a ERP package called MRP and so on and so forth. So specialization goes up. And as happens with any EIT tool, centralization also goes up. Centralization also goes up. And what formalization obviously goes up. And what happens is there is reduction in autonomy. Because everything is decided by the top management. All the information is available at the top management. Now imagine a salesman, moving around in Indore. He has a palm top with which he communicates regularly with the head office in Mumbai. Okay. And head office in Mumbai has all the information that what should be done at a micro level. Now you have this one particular client, how much price is to be given, what are the prices and features offered by its competitors and so on and so forth. Okay. So the person at the head office makes a decision and the salesman at the interface of customers have very little autonomy. And as autonomy reduces, it has a profound effect on job satisfaction. So job satisfaction goes down because you're simply used as a pawn for implementing things and have very little to decide your own future, or you have no decision-making latitude. So this is about all. And some preliminary research by few of my students indicated that this happens in defenders, the above, I mean, I will say this A happens in defenders. Typically in defenders, what happens is there are very few product lines. Everything is standardized. Standardization is already very high, and all of that is encoded into the system. Okay, so standardization goes up even more. Specialization also goes up because the computer expert enters, and he also has a knowledge of functional disciplines of the organization, and centralization also goes up, and formalization also goes up. So as things move to the top management wields heavy power. And this is to put in other words, top management use of power goes up in defender. And there is another way of saying it. One thesis done in IME department, Dr. Sanjay Kumar, he found that in these situations, management becomes more task-oriented rather than people-oriented. And we will say that this happens with more force in defenders rather than in prospectors. And one more thing I would like to point out here, that these defenders have what is known as single process ERP. Single process means every job, there is a single process of how it is to be done. Okay. Job enters machine 1 in transfer line or in assembly line. Then after that, it has to go to machine 2 only, which is lined up next to it. And after that, the job has to go to machine 3. So there is very little, or the complexity of workflow is very little, and there are no alternate processes possible in the organization. And therefore, we have a single process ERP. Okay. And so that's about it. And in defenders, in prospectors, things are a bit different. Here, complexity of workflow is high. As a result, you need an ERP software that supports multiple processes. Let's suppose multiple processes, and it needs to say, so to say, and it needs multi-process ERP. And I've forgotten one issue of flexibility. Okay. And since the ERP in defenders is a single process ERP, flexibility comes down. even further. Flexibility comes down in defenders even more after ERP implementation. And here, since you have to impose, create a ERP software which supports multiple processes, here flexibility goes up. Flexibility goes up. But of course, these ERPs are more expensive. These ERPs are more expensive. And here, if we implement the multi-process ERP in a prospector, if we implement a multi-process ERP, autonomy goes up. So these are contrasts between ERPs of defenders and ERPs of prospectors. And as you will expect, these ERPs are more expensive. Obviously so, because you have to support multiple processes, software is more complex, etc., etc. And here in defenders, ERP is relatively cheaper. So this phenomena of V was found in TCS Lucknow. Whose managing director, Mr. Jayant Krishna, was kind enough to allow internal access in his organization to our students, and they found out this particular thing. So what is stressed is, given the structure of an organization, structure of a defender is different, structure of a prospector is different, and therefore systems have to be different. So ERP for prospectors is different, whereas ERP for defender is different. It's a single process for defender, multi-process for prospectors, and so on and so forth. So Jayant Krishna organization was prospectors, prospector, and it had a different characteristics as noted here. And then we wrote a paper also along with Jayant Krishna to find out these things, which was a unique thing in the unique contribution to literature. So this is the second slide. This constitutes my second slide. So I save this. This thing will be sent to you. ERP implementation. So typically, organization decides that they have to use ERP. And then they decided that, okay, let us set aside the manual legacy systems and it replaces it by uh, computer software. So now here comes in the computer expert. Computer expert is a bright computer scientist, BTech in computer science or electrical engineering. And then he enters the organization at the age of 26 years. Okay. And implements his ERP. Now everything, he becomes the center of attraction. He becomes the cynosure of eyes in the organization. And old people of the age of 55 plus or 60 plus, who are production in charge, marketing in charge, finance in charge, they get relegated to a secondary position. And computer expert becomes important. And obviously, when such a phenomena happens, you lose your power or you lose your importance in an organization. So what is there is the resistance to change. Those people who lose power, they will resist the changes, and smartly they will engage in what is known as horizontal violence. Silently, they will sabotage use of ERP. And the history of ERP implementation is replete with many, many examples where people have spent 150 crores on ERP implementation and found that it just didn't work for them. And then they threw the entire software down the gutter and went back to legacy systems. So stories are full of these kind of failures. And what results is, because of this horizontal violence, resistance to change, the other name given to this phenomena is the culture clash. It leads to non-use of ERP systems or failure of ERP software. So given this, what should be done? Academicians have been battling with this issue, and there comes a suggestion that you must implement ERP in an incremental manner, rather than in a big bang fashion. So this suggestion came from academicians. So they said, let's go for incremental ERP implementation. Okay. And few of my students argued that yes, it should be incremental, but it should be incremental only in differentiators because complexity is very high. Since in differentiators, complexity is high, go for incremental ERP implementation rather than and in the differentiator and in the defenders. And in defenders, you should go for a big bang implementation because uncertainty is not too high. And this phenomena was documented by a scientific study by some of my students. And ERP for defenders is standard ERP. For example, in a chemical industry, there are defenders. Then for all defenders in that segment will need the same ERP. And therefore, vendor will be preparing a standard ERP and selling it to them. Whereas differentiators have different bases of differentiation. Somebody may say that, look, I am selling fewer quantities, where product is manufactured in tons. For example, if alcohol is manufactured in drums of thousands of liters, they are not interested in selling 250 cc of alcohol to an academic institute such as a school for the 9th standard, where people use alcohol for laboratory experiments. So there are different bases of differentiation, and therefore ERP for differentiators will be custom made. So this was also verified by one of my students who did research on ERP. So this is all for this particular slide. So let me save it. Now, since the stories of ERP failures were very large in number, people came up with another solution. They said that let us make an ERP which automates the existing organizational procedures and physical procedure that was already there working. So let us automate that process only. Okay. So what happens this way is the existing power structure is not threatened and it is preserved, as a result of which the cultural backlash or the horizontal violence or resistance to change reduces drastically, and acceptance of ERP is very high. Although my students have not worked on it, but this phenomena has been documented and verified in literature. So this reduces resistance to change and improves ERP acceptance. Then comes an important phenomena of how to configure ERP. Now, I'm not a computer scientist. So these things I just can make sense out of it, but I do not have deep knowledge of that. But typically in literature, 3 approaches are available, which is known as OOP, component tailoring method, and dynamic enterprise model. So as far as my knowledge is concerned, I have never used C++ or any object-oriented programming. But I'm told from by authentic sources that it allows reuse of software, because here objects and classes are used where their properties can be easily added or deleted as the need may be. And in component tailoring method, it's an extension of OOP, and it allows you to have a little more flexibility than OOP. Whereas in dynamic enterprise modeling, the package allows when there are gross wholesale changes in the needs of an organization, such as defender, such as a prospector, you can quickly reconfigure ERPs. And here, typically, probably it is same as service-oriented architecture. Forgive me for that. I do not have deep knowledge. But all we can say is OOP form of configuring ERP could be used by defenders. And dynamic enterprise modeling would be used by prospectors. So this much we can infer, given that authentic characteristics of OOP, component tailoring method, and dynamic enterprise modeling are given to us by computer professionals. And then we can apply our logic and common sense and give these interesting hypotheses. And some of my students have verified this also. It is verified by pilot study, although not a very deep and exhaustive study. So this is about all. And what I will like to do now is to show you a paper or rather let me put that also in the slides. So one essential phenomena observed in prospectors as well as defenders is that use of power goes up. Goes up with ERP implementation. This is more so because people will not like it or people will oppose it. Or they have to learn new things, which is very irritating or something like that. Earlier I was doing fine, now I have to learn these new things to survive. So people don't like it, so there is a higher use of power, or rather higher use of coercive power. Higher use of coercive power goes up with ERP implementation, and this has been found both in defenders and prospectors. Right? And one more thing that has been found is that in organizations which are young, are able to have easier implementation. When employees are young, Now, this phenomena is very true. I myself experienced that. We purchased one smart TV and I found it difficult to operate the buttons myself. But my younger son, who is only 11-year-old, he used to operate it very at ease, and he would press few buttons and he will, get whatever thing he wants. I took more time to learn it, and that's true. Studies have documented that older the members of organization, more difficulties ERP implementation. So employees are younger, they are more nimble, they can be easily molded to a new culture that has to be adopted. And this is also a very important phenomena which I would like to bring out. Now, this culture clash has been reported to be low in organizations with professional culture. An organization has professional culture, then this culture clash, which has many other names, horizontal violence, the other name is resistance to change, etc., is low in organizations with professional culture and is high in organizations with the professional and task culture. And it is high in organizations with person support. Bureaucracies and role culture. A study by Dr. Umanar has verified this also. So this is in brief about ERP. All the relevant notes and slides will be sent to you, so it becomes a useful collection in your inventory of academic materials. So with this I stop. So with this I stop as far as ERP is considered. Any questions, interesting questions, doubts, I will clear them. Otherwise, then I move on to the next one, which is management information systems. Any questions, please? Say yes or no. Hello?
No, sir.
No.
No, sir. No, sir.
Okay. So I move on to management information systems. Now, one view is these management information systems is nothing but ERP, isn't it? ERP is also a management information system. It makes available right information to right people at right time so that right decisions can be taken. So it is customary to give a different treatment to MIS, whereas MIS and the ERP, they can be synonymously used. So the purpose here is, we have a good understanding of objectives and strategies and structure and systems. Okay. So we say that a ERP or a management information system should be driven by objectives. So MIS will be driven by objectives. Typically, a defender has constant objectives, lower the cost. Okay. Which means a defender has little change in objectives over time. So which means MIS undergoes little change. Whereas in prospectors, objectives change very frequently. Sometimes it is minimize cost. Sometimes it is maximize revenue. Sometimes it is maximize market share. And so on. So you start or maximizing profit also. All these four things are different. All these things can be different. So I belong to the old class of management professionals. So I give old example. There was Modi Xerox at a point in time where they said they made a planned loss of 6 crores just to hold on to the market shares. They lowered the price, and then they said that let us make a planned loss and let us hold on, and maybe we'll make up profits later on. To give you more modern example, same thing this Amazon and Flipkart are doing. They are reducing prices, offering so many freebies at the expense of making huge losses to the tune of 5,000 and 25,000 crores cumulative, and with the hope that one day customer will be loyal to them and then they can freeze things. So with that kind of an intention, they want to hold on to the market share by lowering the prices and reducing the margins. Okay. So the idea is, if objectives change frequently, MIS also needs to change, and that can be painful. That's how these issue of reconfiguring ERP becomes more and more important. So there is a concept called service-oriented architecture, where service is used as a bundle, and as the requirements change, one can quickly reconfigure, and the system will be ready for newer sets of objectives. So let me now spend some time in production decisions. Production decisions in defenders. What are the decisions in defenders? Maximize throughput, maximize production, because the fixed cost is so high in Tata Motors where I was working, fixed cost is so high that last 15 days production is the profit. The whole year, 11 and a half months, you will be slogging only to recover your fixed cost. Last 15 days production is the profit. So that is the kind of a pressure you have. And therefore, we would like to maximize production because overheads are already too high. Go for cost cutting wherever possible. And so on. In defenders and in prospectors, important decisions are lot sizing, scheduling, lead time of introduction, and capacity plan. Lot sizing, many of you have studied EOQ model, economic order quantity. Whenever you have to produce something, you incur a setup cost. And then you also incur what is known as inventory carrying cost. If you manufacture the entire year's production in one go, your setup cost will be low, but your inventory carrying cost will be very high and you may not be optimal. And if you set up for every unit, you may find that your setup cost is very high. And although your inventory cost is very low. So you have to strike a balance. And this phenomena or this process is the process of determining lot sizing so that cost of setup, production, inventory, and shortages is minimized to the extent possible. Scheduling, you all know very well which train to push first and which train to push next. Rajdhanis will get priority over express trains will get priority over passenger trains, and so on and so forth. So lead time of introduction means customer needs a job at the end of 6th month. When should I take up its production? Because it takes some amount of processing and waiting before the machines, before the job can be completed. So you say that, look, these are my waiting times at the current level of capacity utilizations. So let me introduce this particular product at the end of 3rd month so that I am able to meet the due date of supplying to customer at the end of 6 months. Capacity planning. Given the nature of customer orders, you may like to decide how many machines of which types are to be produced. And typically, MIS or ERP should be capable of supporting these decisions. Typically, the setup cost is not available in accounting systems. This has to be calculated separately by looking at different cost figures. Inventory carrying cost. Again, the traditional accounting systems do not support these kind of evaluations, and a separate system is required, which is known as cost accounting system, which will tell you cost of different things, such as setup cost, inventory carrying cost, and shortage cost, and so on and so forth, before they can be used in an optimization model and solution can be offered to you. The next is finance decisions. Now, I will pose an interesting question. The selling price of a product is ₹10 per unit. And cost of the product or raw material cost, if I may say, raw material and other variable cost, plus other cost, which is known as the variable cost, product is 7. Fixed cost is 30. If I open the shutters for a day, I incur a cost of 30 rupees. And these are my economic figures. So normal, this thing will say that, okay, if the demand is about 10 or 10 plus, it becomes a good proposition and I will make a decent profit and recover my fixed cost. And demand is hefty. At 50. I make a huge profit. Now suppose the market conditions have changed. Now the market conditions have changed. Now I find that I can sell only 6 units. The decision is, should I continue the production or should I close down? So the management scientists would say that, look, by selling every unit, I'm able to recover 1 rupee from each unit sold. So by 6 units, I'm able to recover 6 rupees, and my net loss would be net loss would be 24 rupees and not 30 if I had closed down. Now the data suggests that I can sell 20 units if my price is rupees 5 per unit. The management scientists would say that by selling at 5 units, I incur a cash loss of 2 rupees. Okay, by selling 20 units, I make a loss of 40 units, 40 rupees, and my total loss is minus 70. And if I close down, I incur a loss of only 30. Okay. So I better close down. And this concept is referred to as contribution. In managerial economics, this concept is referred to as contribution. Okay. So you continue producing if contribution is positive. And the idea is you need what is known as a variable cost of a product, and management information system should be ready to support this kind of a determination. So you need to implement standard costing, variable costing, ABC costing, and so on and so forth. And these costings are not supported by traditional accounting systems. You need to have a cost accounting system. And more than that, you need to calculate these figures accurately so that managers can make good decisions if this information is supplied. So this is as far as finance is considered. Here are some of the important decisions which are important. I'm saving this slide. Now let us come to marketing. All this I'm saying because you need to know what MIS needs to be driven by objectives, and we should look at different disciplines such as production, marketing, finance to know what kind of decisions are to be supported and what are your objectives so that a right MIS can be framed. The marketing decisions are new product development. You need to have it. You need to have your hand on the pulse of the customer to know what are his tastes and preferences, and accordingly feed it to R&D. So you need a coordination between CRM on one hand and ERP R&D, so that a new product development is easily facilitated. So that's what I would like to bring out. So coordination among ERP, different functional ERPs, is important in differentiators more and than in defenders. In defenders, you need cooperation between production and finance, where cost cutting and maximizing production are important objectives of the MIS. So new product improvement, new product development, pricing, promotion. Promotion is how much advertisement to give for how many seconds and at what cost, so that your reach is maximized. And in the reach also, there are so many things. You may like to say that only one person was reached 100 times is one kind of a reach. And you can say that I have a promotion program where 100 people were reached and each was reminded only once. So one person reminded 100 times is one kind of a reach, and 100 persons reminded one at a time. Again, the reach is 100, the number of people into the number of times, but the reach quality is different. So there are different objectives in promotion, and your MIS should be capable of supporting that. And then we have what is known as physical distribution. And you have what is known as forecasting. Earlier times, it was said that forecasting was a very fuzzy thing. What will be the demand after 1 year was a very fuzzy figure. It has to be taken with a bucket of salt. But now with the advent of social media and a lot of people making purchases in an electronic manner, we have his salary, we have all his details, purchase pattern, how does he spend his money, and demand forecasting has become that much more accurate. So these are some of the marketing and important decisions. Typically, AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, play a great role in revolutionizing MIS and ERPs. time is less, so I will just focus on few HR decisions. For example, if you have to hire an employee at a top person and you want to determine whether that person is the right match to your organization. So without his knowledge, you observe him on social media, study his posts and study who are his friends, what is his political ideology, and so on and so forth. And then before making a formal interview, you already make up your mind that you are going to offer to this particular person. And then that person can be approached and an offer can be made. And this process, machine learning, artificial intelligence, becomes very, very important. R&D decisions. So one is patent portfolio strategy. We have briefly talked about it, that if a patent portfolio is too broad, profitability comes down as we apply the same principles of conglomerate diversification. You should have related diversification or have some kind of a link, which is what is talked about in the form of technology beachheads. P&G purchased Charmin paper products company, which supplied technology to its different paper products, such as cigarettes, napkins, etc., etc. And there is another important decision, whether exploration and exploitation can function under same roof or under different. So we need a MIS to help us determine this. All data should be made available. Okay. And in R&D, if the company is enforcing its patents, then it needs to keep a tab on its employees also, that have they joined your competitors, or have there been patent infringements by your competitor and he's making use of your patents to manufacture products, and so that you can sue him legally and you can be compensated appropriately. So these are some of the R&D decisions also which are important. And I just give an example of a modern MIS. IBM has prepared a healthcare system for cancer patients. It has developed a package that looks at cancer patients' history, and then it scans 5 lakh journal pages and recommends a line of treatment for that particular cancer patient. And the process is so accurate and so authentic that oncologists have accepted the line of treatment supported by this particular package 13% of the time. And typically it uses advanced techniques in artificial intelligence and machine learning. So all these machine learnings, techniques, algorithms, artificial intelligence have become integral part of modern MIS, and they are integrated into the ERPs also. So with this, the time is up, only about 1 minute left. So I plan to stop here. If there are any questions, I will like to take them. Otherwise, I stop here. If you have questions, you can stop and ask questions. If there are no questions, then you can log out. I'll be the last person to log.
Excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, actually, I have not been assigned with the date for the presentation.
आपका assign होगा. See, what is happening is I have already said that on 15th, that is tomorrow, and 17th we are meeting.
Yes, sir.
So that time you please attend the class and then give your name so that for the next 3 presentations are scheduled on I think some next date.
Okay, sir. Okay, definitely.
You will be given a chance to make a presentation.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Everyone will get a chance. There are enough number of articles. Yeah.
Definitely, sir.
So be
Thank
present
you.
tomorrow. Tomorrow I'm going to take names for next 3 presentations and then I will do that.
Sorry, sir.
They be present in the next class. I will take 3
Yes, sir. Surely, sir.
and assign you presentation materials.
Okay, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.